Hello once again, and I think it's time to talk about probably a significant decade in my life. Yes, my favourite decade will always be the 90s, but we're going to talk about it. I would say it's a significant decade in my life, which is the 1980s. Yes, I was born in the 70s. Don't remember too much about the 70s. I was too young. But it would be the 1980s because that's when I was a kid growing up. Going through my teens. You know, it's a big part of my life because it was a part of my life I didn't like. Two things I did not like. Well, one thing I did not like, and obviously other thing that maybe my parents didn't like. And there was a big impact on the 80s. They dominated the 80s. One for me was school. Throughout the 1980s, I was at school. Infants, juniors, and high school. Started in 79, finished in 1990. So the 80s was all about I was at school. And the second thing, a person that dominated the 1980s. A lot of people hated her, but if you was rich and well off, you must have liked her. One person was our Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher. Dominated the 80s. She was a big part. She was a big part of the 1980s. I think she was the same. 79 she got in, 1990 she was out. So once again, with me it was school, and the country was Margaret Thatcher. But I'm not going to talk about it. They're the things that we want to forget about the 1980s, wasn't it? I think, to me, the 1980s was great. It was great, yes. Apart from school, putting that to one side. Okay, bits of school, yeah, okay, was good. Like not going. No, I can't say that because that's, I met a lot of friends through school. I still go out and drink with them. Still know a few people from school. My best mates are from school. If you're watching this video, you know you are. So I've known my mates for over 30 years, and I can still go out for a drink with them. Okay, we all did move on in life. Some people have moved on again, but we still keep in contact. That's the great thing, I still keep in contact with my mates I knew all the way back at school, from high school that is. From 1985 till now. That's 36 years I've been mates. We've been mates, That's quite a long time. That's an achievement, I think. That's an achievement. To stay friends and still keep in contact. I emigrated to America, but still made sure I still kept in contact with my mates. I'd come back, I had a drink with them. Brilliant. I had something to celebrate. I broke up. Yeah. No, we're not going to talk about that. I'm going off at a tangent again, aren't I? But the 1980s for me was a very significant year. A decade. Toys were growing up, playing with toys. Great toys we had back in the day. Great toys. Before computers, before I didn't always have a computer. With Lego, bloody Lego. Fucking fantastic. Fantastic Lego was. Well, still is. I guarantee. I know it's still going. So, you know, kids today have got Lego. Then great. You know, I knew how great Lego is. Hang on a minute. I've got to pause it. Sorry about that. Just had to attend to something real quick there. Yeah, but Lego, wasn't that was one of my favourite toys. I'll tell you what. If I had a Lego kit, I'd love to build another Lego kit. I ain't touched Lego. Whoa. I just can't remember. I know it was a great toy. I'd love to build a Lego set again. I really would love to build a Lego set again, just for that nostalgia's sake. I really would, especially Technic Lego. That was good. I think that led me to go on to building radio-controlled cars and now computers. But it's an educational toy as well. I think you know, it lets you use your imagination. Lego. It's brilliant. You know, it's a Danish toy, and they should be very proud of that. Very, I'd say, one of my best toys I've ever had. Lego. You know, it ain't just a toy. It could, you know, have the electric motors and great. It was great. You know, I know it's expensive, but it was great. It's great. You know, what else did I have? Oh God, Matchbox cars. The old Matchbox cars. Oh, brilliant. Thousands of Matchbox cars, Hot Wheels, Corgi, Dinky Toys. Was it Dinky Toys? Oh, I can't remember, but I remember Matchbox, Hot Wheels, Corgi. The little car. Yeah, brilliant, no? Really detailed, made out of metal, quality stuff, you know. And what else was there in the night? Oh, Space Invader. Tabletop games, a scramble. Fucking hell. You know, technology for its time back then was great. You know, you can't compare technology then to technology now. You can't do that. You know, technology now is advanced. You know, back in the 1980s, that was advanced technology. You can't compare things like that. I know people will try to, but you can't. That's not fair to compare. That's like comparing a Ferrari to a Skoda. You can't, that's just not fair. It's just two different types of cars. You just can't compare things like that. Oh, what else? Games, you know, board games and fucking all sorts of things we used to do. The days when you used to make yourself a go-kart, you know, out of pram wheels and bits of wood. I was making a steering mechanism with a bit of string, you know, putting caster wheels on the front or something. Burping, going down the hill, you know, launching off a hill. You know, you used your imagination back then. You really did use your imagination. I would not trade those times in for nothing, because it was great times when we had bikes. We had BMX bikes. Oh, I had so much fun on a BMX bike. Fucking fantastic BMX bikes were. I had one of them in the early 80s. I had two, actually. Two BMX bikes. And I believe I built a BMX bike and all. I was just out of bits. Used to find bikes all over the place in New Haddington. There was all bits of bikes everywhere. You just find bits of bikes and just bring them home and build a bike out of them. You know, you just use your brain, you just use your imagination back then. You used to find, like, well, we did anyway, where in Haddington, burnt out cars. There was always burnt out cars on parks or woodlands around here. Always burnt out cars, you know, because in the 80s, I think a lot of people back then were driving around in the late 60s, 70s cars. You know, not everyone could afford a brand new car, so you had to buy a second-hand old banger. And they literally was old bangers. You know, my parents drove around in old bangers. You know, a lot of people couldn't afford brand new cars, so you had to make do buying an old banger. You don't see no bangers no more, you know, because cars are, you know, for the last 20 years, cars are very good. They're built They're really built to last. Not really last. There's nothing lasts. They don't want nothing to last. But a car these days can do 100,000 miles, no problem. So you just see cars like, you know, a few years old. You know, they look good, and there's just no problems with them. They're just, you know, you never see. You don't. It's rarely that you see an 80s car driving on the road these days, like a Sierra. You know, back in the 90s, you used to see a Sierra everywhere. A Sierra. I had 2 Sierras. My dad had a Sierra. So we all had a Sierra. I bet everyone back in the day had a Sierra. Back in the 90s, I bet everyone had a Sierra at some point in their lives. Well, if you could drive in the 90s, that is, I'm talking about. If you was old enough. I passed my test when I was 18, so yes, I had a Sierra. I had 2 Sierras in my time. The original shape and sapphire. I had 2 Sierras. Both the same colour, blue. But it was great. It was great, though. You know, my dad had a Cortina. A Mark V Cortina. Oh, it was just times, good times. My other had one of the Mark II Ford Escorts. A Mark II Ford Escort. Yeah, it was just times. You know what else was significant about the 1980s? It was, to me, it was computer games as well. Computer games. You know, this is the first time I experienced arcades. Arcades are fantastic. Pole position. All sorts of games, and you know, 86 was my favourite arcade game. Outrun still would ever be my favourite arcade game. Brilliant. The Amstrad CPC 464 to me was my first computer. Then the gaming started even more. First computer I ever used was the Sinclair ZX Spectrum when my mate had it, and my other mate had the Commodore VIC-20. Yeah, it was just great. Just great these days, you know. Well, everyone, you know, when they was growing up, has their favourite, has their decades, don't they? I think a lot of people would have, you know, it's going to be different to everyone, isn't it? But I'd say people my age would say the 80s, maybe also because of the music. To me, it was not the music. It was not the music that did it for me in the 1980s, because I thought a lot of the music in the 1980s was shit. A lot of people are going to say, "Ooh, that was the best decade." No, it fucking wasn't. Not for me, it wasn't, because that'll always be the 90s for me. Meccano. Who had a Meccano set? Oh, it was good. It was a good time. Meccano. It weren't as good as Lego, but you know, it's nuts and bolts. Metal Lego, I used to call it. Lego with nuts and bolts. Instead of going, stickle bricks. Who remembers stickle bricks? At school, you fucking stick things together with stickle bricks. Fucking hell, stickle bricks. Amazing, isn't it? One of these toys that educate you as well as being fun. You don't get these no more. I don't really think, what a toy, honestly, because I'm too old, what a toy is, what, you know, what toys do you get nowadays? Oh, another one I had, Big Track. Who remembers Big Track? Fucking hell, that Big Track with the trailer like that. Oh, you push the buttons and the beat, and you come on, it just goes around the room. You can tell it, you know, how far it goes. That's great. Speak and Spell. I never had a Speak and Spell, but I remember fucking Speak and Spell because I remember watching E.T. God, that fucking film. I watched that in the cinema. Oh God, why did my mum make me go and watch fucking E.T.? Oh God, bloody mighty. E.T. Yes, there was some shit of the 80s, weren't there? What, you know, there was some crap. But then there was some good stuff, like, yes, burping, and yeah, there's a lot of good films of the 80s. We had Commando and all the Schwarzenegger films, didn't we? We had so many Schwarzenegger films, great films were they? And also, you know, very violent and good films. Running Man, Commando, Predator, others. I just can't think of the top of my head at the moment. Raw Deal, Red Heat, Terminator. Fucking how could I forget the Terminator? All these great Schwarzenegger films that come out, and we had the Stallone films, Cobra. Oh, that was a great film, Cobra. I think that was one of my favourite Stallone films. That was Cobra. Cobra. Yeah, that's it. Wasn't a big fan of the Rocky films. I really didn't get into the Rocky films that much. Rambo was, yeah, they were good. Rambo films. You know, this was the 1980s. You know, a lot of things. You know, I think that was a changing decade. I think that was a changing decade. Was the 1980s? We got a lot of technology. It's, you know, the 70s was developing this technology. The 70s was, you know, the development era of the 80s, and you know, the 80s it just went up and up and up. Technology just got better and better. You know, the video recorder. The video recorder, come on. The V8, no, we had a Betamax. A Betamax. Our first video recorder was a Betamax. Youngsters won't remember that. No, a Betamax. Massive machine it was. A push down buttons, bloody no remote control, no search wind or nothing. This was probably one of the heaviest things I've ever picked up. Oh, bloody hell. A Betamax. And we got the great comedy. Great comedy we had in the 80s, like the Young Ones. Only Fools and Horses. In Sickness and in Health. There was others. Red Dwarf. Started in the 1980s. Filthy Rich and Cat Flap, yeah, that was alright. It was only one series, but it wasn't as good as Young Ones, was it? Or Bottom, which was the 90s. But what else is there? We had so much good stuff. TV programs we had. The amount of TV programs we used to watch. Cartoons. Great cartoons we had back in the 80s. Oh. What else? When Sky came out in the late 80s. Cable television. Never had cable television, but we had so much. What else was there? God, I can just go on all day fucking talking about this. Train sets. Probably was invented there, but I remember the trains. Do we have trains? Did people play with train sets anymore? Yeah, they were great. Train sets. Scalextrics. Does anyone play with Scalextrics anymore? Fucking all these. It was fucking fantastic. I loved being a kid back then. It was so great. I didn't want to keep playing with computer games all the time. It was just nice to have a variety of different stuff. It was brilliant going on for bike rides and doing stunts, jumping on my BMX bike, scraping my head to bits when I fell off the fucking thing because the brake caliper fell off and went into the front wheel and I went over the fucking handlebars and almost got run over. That's fucking fantastic. Just got to go again. Sorry about this. Oh yes, that's better. Right. Yeah, what was I talking about? I've totally forgot, but yeah, but the 80s was a significant year for me anyway. Theme parks, going to Hastings, going on holiday in a caravan. My parents, you know, we couldn't afford the best, but we made do with what we had, and it was great times. Fucking great times. Dad having his Cortina, towing a caravan to Hastings. Oh, great memories they were. Hastings is a great place, always will be a great place. Arcades everywhere, fucking fish and chips, and yes, you know, I didn't go abroad until the late 80s, and that was Spain. It was the first time I went abroad, but it was great. I honestly had a lot of good memories going on holiday around Britain in a caravan, staying in a caravan. You know, it could have been our caravan or static caravan. It's what you make of it. That's what makes the greatest time. What you make of it. Doesn't matter where you go. It's what you make of it. But it was great. We didn't have mobile phones. We did have mobile phones. In the 1980s, that's when a mobile phone was invented. And there was them big fucking things with an aerial like that, you know. Yeah, but no one had a mobile phone really back in the 1980s. It was like yuppies, you know, the yuppies. What are yuppies? I've forgotten, but no, they didn't burp a lot. Oh, probably, but no, it's sort of like the go-getters. I don't know, the fucking young people that wear ponytails. I don't know. Yuppies. Yeah, but I had a lot back then. It was, yeah, the 80s did start a lot of things. There was a lot of bad things and all. We had the IRA fucking bombing fucking shitload places in England. There was a lot of shit going on, fucking strikes. I was too young to know about all these things, but you know, the telly was on. There's always the news on or something like that. So I remember this correctly because we didn't have a remote control telly. I was the fucking remote control. It was one of them old tellies with the 4 channels there. BBC 1, BBC 2, ITV. These are the days before Channel 4. And there was a 4th channel which was tuned into the video recorder, the Betamax. So if you wanted to watch the video, you had to put it on Channel 4. Then Channel 4 came along. What was it? Well, we only had 4 channels on our telly, so we had to tune Channel 4 into our video recorder, which was never watched. Because the video recorder had to have a tuner. I think they had 8 channels on it, so we can tune. Well, we tuned each channel into the video, so we could record something in Channel 4. So yeah, so I was the remote control for the video and the television set. Yeah, it was great. It was good times when I was growing up in the 80s. Yeah, I had a fucking lot of toys. I had a lot of toys. I was pretty much spoiled, being probably the only child. I won't go into details about that because I do have a half brother and sister. Well, I did have a half brother. I'm not going into details about that. I still have a sister, my half sister, but you know, I ain't going to get into personal details about shit like that. But yeah, it's a great decade. 80s was a great decade. People say it's amazing because they love the music of the 80s. Me, yes, there was some great music of the 80s, but as I said before, it was the 90s music that did it for me, and it always will be the 90s for me. But the 80s was a great decade for me as well, because I was growing up, I was a kid. You know, we all liked it when we was kids. Yeah, so what did we get in the 80s? As I say, we got Thatcher. We got the fucking Conservative that dominated the 80s. We got toys, great toys. We got brilliant toys of the 80s. Great cartoons, great television programmes, great comedy. Pubic hairs. Well, and shaved them off in the 90s. Yeah, we got so much in the 80s. You know, interact with girls. Yeah. It was all kids though, that's the thing. It doesn't matter. We had a lot. We had a lot of good times. There was great times in the 80s. I thought so anyway. I think a lot of people that grew up in that era will probably share the same thought. I think a lot of people would say the 80s was a great decade, apart from Margaret Thatcher. Can't have everything, can you? Anyway, I think I've gone on too long with this video. Well, I know I've taken a couple of breaks. I had to take a couple of timeouts in this video for two different reasons, but there you go. You see, right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment or do a VR, whatever you want to do, but just don't burp. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, and goodbye.